Hey everyone, my name is JJ Paulson. I'm a student entrepreneur and co-founder of the tech startup Perch. I want to invite you for coffee and conversation on our weekly series, Coffee Talks. We're here to showcase the heartbeat of Gainesville's entrepreneurial spirit. I want to give a quick thank you as this series is made possible by Afternoon Roasting and Seven Ashes Productions. So grab your favorite mug, settle in, and let's explore the exciting world of entrepreneurship together. Now let's meet this week's guest.
Yep. So, everyone, like you just said, I'm JJ. Super glad to be joined here by Reggie Nelson. And Reggie, why don't you take some time to tell everyone what you do?
Hey guys, so yeah, as you said, my name is Reggie Nelson. I am a candle maker. So I just recently started a business called Daily Burn Candle Studio. With that, the idea is just to bring a more natural, organic, clean candle to the home. Really, the nice take on it is that I like to specialize with crackling wood wicks. So for those who never had one of those, basically when you light it, it's gonna make a nice little light crackling noise to sound like a little fireplace while it's burning. So it's just nice little extra ambiance to it. But that's pretty much what I'm trying to build now.
Right. I love it. I mean, you brought one here today. I smelled it before we started talking. It smells great. Everyone here, you have to check it out before you leave. But I know this is relatively recent that you started this. So what led you to pivot from whatever your previous job was to a startup like this?
So it was by chance, it's COVID, is when it happened. Before this, I worked at Nationwide Insurance. I was the claim adjuster. And with COVID hitting, they actually closed the branch down in Gainesville. So with that, I was fortunate enough to be able to work from home permanently. Well, with that, I'm like, hey, I'm home. I can finally burn my candles because I was always on the go. So people would grab me candles because I love candles and just smells in general. So whether it's like room sprays, candles, wax smells, like all of it, I just like having a nice, clean setting. So I went into my closet. I was like, I'm home, finna start my day with a candle. Like open my closet, look like something out of one of those spy movies where they like hit the button and it like opens up and you just got all these little candles in there.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, I got a problem. What? And so I like grab the candle. I'm like lighting them, and weeks gone in. I set it right at my desk, light it, and then just go through my day. Well, probably about 3-4 weeks in, started getting headaches by the end of the day. And I couldn't figure out what was going on until my wife was like, it's probably your candle. You haven't been burning candles in years. So with that, there's a good chance it's your candle because they're not exactly the most, healthiest thing to burn.
Right.
And I'm like, that makes sense. So I stopped burning it for a while and everything seemed to calm down. So I was like, all right, that I don't like that because I want to enjoy my candles. So she was like, why don't you try making your own? And next thing you know, we're researching all these variations of how to make a candle, a more natural, clean. So there's so many variations of soy that it segue into what I have built now, which is making the candles, creating my scents, and yeah, it was crazy.
That's great. I mean, I'm sure I'm sure the artificial add-ins and most bigger name candles is something that other people are bothered by too, but it's amazing that you took it upon yourself to actually not only create your own solution, but make a solution that you can share with other people. So that's awesome.
Right. And the crazy thing about it is like when the idea came to make the candle, in my mind, I was like, all right, this is probably just going to be like a little side project for myself where I'm just going to be able to enjoy making a candle. Maybe every now and then I'll do like a farmer's market and see if anyone is interested in buying. Well, as I made my first candle, which is the Dream Lover I See You, I was like, this is so good. I know like people will actually enjoy this. And this is actually before I did wood wigs. So I was working with cotton wigs, going kind of back and forth. And I remember like we came with the idea, you know what? Yeah, let's just try to turn it into a business. Worst case scenario, if you don't like it, then you can just stop, and at least you can make a candle.
Now, did you have any prior experience starting or running any type of business
No.
before now?
Not at all. So the idea was just like, no, I was like a deer in the headlights going
Right.
into this. I think if it wasn't because of Elena, that's my wife, she has the business mindset.
Right.
So she was been there to help me behind the scenes support, like, hey, this is what you need to look at. So it's definitely opened up a new world. Like my experience is more of engaging with people, because being as a claim adjuster, dealing with people going through a car accident, I've done the medical side as well as just the non-injury side, where it's just like, all right, here's the accident. Let me talk you through the process. Prior to that, I did work at an animal hospital, and then a lot of retail, so Target, Nordstrom. So I have always loved being in front of people, like just trying to help them understand something they may not be familiar with. And I think that's why I enjoy what I did before this. But I didn't like the idea of COVID when it made us go to work from home.
Right.
I lost a piece of that element because I'm not face to face with people anymore.
So early on, I'm sure you ran into issues just because it's something that you've never done before. What were kind of some of those issues that proved to be real roadblocks, and how did you approach them?
Oh man, like it's never ending. Just again, one, not having any kind of knowledge of the business aspects puts me at such a huge disadvantage, especially when I'm trying to talk to other, business professionals. I don't want to give the illusion that, hey, this guy absolutely has no idea what he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like I know my vision, but to share that and put it into words is a whole different language when you're trying to deal in a business setting. With that, the financial aspects of it, a lot of this stuff has luckily been broken down by my wife. She's like, hey, this is how you look at these numbers. This is what it takes to make. So moving forward, like from 2021 when I started the business, it has evolved so much since to what you see now. And you can tell you can see the transition of Daily Burn growing as a business. And I'm hoping people will see that journey as I do social media. Like social media has probably been the most challenging aspects of this whole career, just because that's the age we live in. If you don't understand social media, you're not going to really get your business off the ground.
Right. And your social media is how I found you. It's, you are a very impressive storyteller. When you were looking into how to build and develop your social media, what do you like? What type of mindset did you have to be able to put yourself in the position to be as good of a storyteller as you are, like online?
Well, I want to say thank you because I struggle on the social media. You have no idea. So I really appreciate those words. Again, I think that aspects of at least knowing that I enjoy, engaging with people.
Right.
In high school, like before all of this, I went to school for music. So my degree is in music. In high school, I performed. So like performance, entertaining, has always been like kind of rooted into me. So I think that's been helping me when I create like a social media content. For those who have really seen my social media posts. If you go to the reels, there's gonna be videos of me trying to sing
Right.
and stuff. Like all my candles are named after different song titles from different decades. That was the mindset to put myself into my brand. It's like, hey, here's some play on words on different songs.
That's great.
So like the I Want Agave play on word for I Want It That Way from Backstreet Boys. So I was like, oh, here's a crazy idea. Let me go ahead and do a clip of me singing an a cappella version of I Want It That Way, but making up lyrics for my candles.
Right.
With the hopes that people would, be like, oh, so that's where that name came from. It's to hopefully set a tone and a story
Right.
for each candle. So, yeah, that's kind of been the biggest inspiration. And then some of the more aesthetic stuff comes from my wife, like, hey, you want to do this because this is going to set this tone. This is how you know, capture the viewers who
Right.
are looking for this.
Yeah. So as your business has grown kind of alongside your social media and you're pushing out not only new products but new content as well, how has your viewpoint on actually being an entrepreneur changed from, day one when your wife recommended you should go out and make your own candles to now that you're fully running the business and having it be pretty successful? How has your viewpoint on actually being an entrepreneur changed throughout that process?
Big time, just because so day one, I was so nervous. Like I couldn't sleep, the anxiety, because I don't like to fail. So I tend to put myself in positions that I know I'm going to excel in. And going into a business, you really can't have that mindset, in my opinion, because if you're not willing to take risks at some point, you're going to stay stagnant and eventually it's just going to slope off.
Right.
So with that, over time, I have gotten myself into a position to be able to say, okay, here's what we're going to try next. You know, I remember day one, we launched, and I was so nervous, like in regards of like what was going on. So I'm just like shaking, and then I see all the orders come through, and my wife looks over at me, and she can just see like my eyes starting to like water up, tear up, because it was such an emotional, raw moment
Right.
to know that, hey, this is actually happening.
Yeah.
Never would I thought I would be in a position to start a business. And it was such a nice opening for something of this caliber for me. And now, like throughout the year, I was like, should I do this? Should I do that? Like I questioned every single thing. To this day now, it's like I can just wake up and be like, okay, here's the game plan. Here's the vision. Here's how I'm going to get there. I'm not just, I felt frantic and very just all over the place,
Right.
scatterbrained, to now I'm more meticulous in regards to how I approach things, what I see, able to reach out to people and be like, hey, it's been a while. Can you tell me about the product? Like I'm ready to accept any bad with the good.
Right. Yeah, I mean that customer feedback that you just talked about is so vital to really, any business, and I'm sure any entrepreneur can attest the feeling of like that first order, like that first time that somebody
Yeah.
else is giving you their money. It's like a surreal moment. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
okay, wow, like someone else believes in it. It's not, not just
Right.
me. I mean, I've definitely felt that before.
Yeah, no, it's a crazy feeling. And I still get it to this day. Like, I will wake up and just think to myself, like, wow, I'm still able to do this. And it's gotten to a point where I'm putting food on the table for my family. So that was going to be another point as well as, I was afraid that I wasn't going to contribute to the family. And at some point, this was going to be for nothing.
Right.
So I think that's been my biggest fear so far.
So right now in the business's current state, what is the biggest roadblock or, growth hindrance that you're currently trying to work through?
So I still find my social media is still not where it needs to be, because it's creating basically just a even shift where I'm not really getting a lot of online sales, at least not as much as I would love, right? Hence why I do a lot of shows. I do a lot of traveling, which takes me away from my family.
Right.
So our goal right now is to create more wholesale accounts.
Right.
But to do that, I really have to figure out a better way to get my brand out there. Now that I'm know for sure that I'm comfortable with how it's being perceived, I know it's a trusted brand. I need to get it out there, but I need to figure out how to make these connections to make that happen. So the biggest block we're facing is staying ahead of the curve to be relevant to some of these bigger companies like Target. My mindset was to see my stuff in Target at some day.
Right.
I've been very fortunate with everyone who has supported me of the business, especially locally, including REI. They reached out to me, and it's been one of the greatest experience as well.
Yeah.
Dealing with them, but
Yeah, and I'm sure, wholesale in terms of strategy, you almost have to completely shift your viewpoint because it's really easy to sell when, it's your face because you're confident in your product. The customer that's coming to you can see your confidence in the product, and they're going to be really likely to be like, yeah, you know what, like I'm going to give this candle a try. This guy sold me. The wholesale and retail side, you're not physically out there. It's just your candle on the shelf and it needs to essentially sell itself. How do you plan on kind of tackling that? Like, how do you plan on being able to continue to sell at the higher volumes that you want to without, Reggie specifically being attached to it in the process?
yeah, I think it's going to be, again, telling that story, which it's going to tie back to social media because
Right.
that's where everyone's looking now. People who start following me, they're like, okay, what's the next thing going on? And even with corporations now, they even know the social media. So it's going to help them tell the story of, hey, we found this artist, this is what they are about.
Right.
Because I'm not going to have that time to keep going face to face with them. It's like I dropped the product off. So I put a lot of time and attention into the branding. So one of the things that's been working for me is the whole music concept. A lot of people will look at it as like, all right, that caught my eye, the Domo Arigato, Mr. Tobacco. I was like, that's funny. Like they look at it and then they're like, okay, now I got to see what it smells like.
Right.
So stuff like that, it's like I'm there, but I'm not. So it's helping. Just thinking of new ideas with the branding that's really going to pop out and make them feel, hey, if he put this much time in the quality of this branding and the looks, then, and I'm willing to give it a try and see if the quality is there. And once
Right.
it's there, then it can speak for itself.
Yeah, I mean, the smell itself totally sells itself. It's a great candle. So, currently I know you spoke a little bit about wholesale accounts and trying to bolster that. Are there any other big avenues for growth that you're currently looking at, whether it's, maybe another market or potentially another product?
So yeah, definitely consistently always looking for new, bigger markets. As you know, I've been to DC, New York,
Right.
Chicago, Texas. I think one of the bigger markets I'm trying to get myself into is going to be the Silo Fest, which is hosted by Chip and Joanna Gaines on their farm in Waco, Texas. They host it once a year in October. That's one of the bigger markets that I would love to be a part of just because, get the probably meet Chip and Gaines. I think that'd be
Right.
cool.
Yeah. Definitely.
But in regards of product wise, yeah, absolutely. Because one thing I come to teach myself this year is, hey, not everyone's going to want a candle.
Right.
You know, not every environment is fit for a candle. And so with that, I am looking to expand my scents into other products. So instead of being, gun ho about, creating multiple scents after scent, it's like I'd rather take my 10 signature scents that I have and then just simply put them in other avenues, because just released hand wash earlier this year and find out that it's done great. People will have loved it. They're asking me for more variations of it. So definitely going to do that. I want to look into room sprays, wax melts, diffusers. So I want to start hitting all this wide range of stuff. It's just I'm taking my time with it because it's still about the quality of it. And I think that's what's going to help me continue to stand out from all the other candle companies.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about a product in relation to smell is there's a pretty wide range of product that could be developed from it, whether it's hand soap or, I mean, you could potentially even look into the hygiene aspect of it with like deodorant, body wash, shampoo, stuff like that. I'm sure these are all ideas that you've thought of, but how do you kind of diversify the product while keeping it at the same core vision that you initially had when you started the company?
I think it's just going to have to do with just kind of like, a lot of it comes back to the branding, to be
Right.
honest, because I mean, if you think about it, there's so many countless candle companies out
For
there.
sure.
I do shows all the time. I'm actually one of the few who don't still at this point have like room sprays, beard oils, and stuff of that nature. So I'm always like have very minimum product, but I it's because I am the one actively creating my blends.
Right.
It has helped me stand out to the point where I'm trusting my nose, my instinct to make more unique blends, something that will hopefully unlock, nostalgia or just memories. And I think I can put that into other products because people will come through and like, oh man, this smells great. I just can't have candles. So I'm like, okay, understood. So by putting that into other products and then really hitting the branding, it's going to create a whole new avenue, and I think it will also open up more doors for other wholesale accounts.
Yeah, and going back to, actually creating the product and the smells, where do you find yourself finding like the inspiration for these smells? Is it just, personal interest? Is it you're walking around occasionally and you smell something and you're like, oh wow, that's a great scent. I wonder if I can tinker that a little bit. Is it your wife? Is it customers?
Yeah, it's honestly a little bit of everything.
Okay.
So like this one, the Dream Lover, I made that for myself because I knew I like beach type scents. With that, it was like amber, oak moss, sea salt, a nice little sea breeze, and I'm like, oh man, that came out great. I'm in the kitchen, and my wife is like, I want the lime. I was like, what do you say? She's like, I want the lime. I was like, oh, that's nice. That was a good one.
It's a good one.
And I was
Yeah.
just like, you know what? I got to make a summer scent. And I'm like, I'm going to use that.
Right.
So then I started like shopping around for various fragrance that I can try to combo. And then I was just like, all right, came up with the lime, rosemary, sage for I Want the Lime. So the Dear Mama, my mom's middle name is Rose. So I knew creating scents.
How to smell like rose, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, I got to have a rose. So I went through a bunch of various fragrance of roses and then started blending them with other type of florals to try to create what I have. And I'm like, Mom, you have to sign off on it. Otherwise, it's no good.
Right.
So it's like I kept making her smell all these different things. And eventually I got to that one. She loved it. I'm just like, stamp it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I could continue asking you questions for a really long time because I think what you're doing is super interesting and it's so unique. We've already spoke before, so I knew a little bit of your story, but it was great to hear it more in depth. And if you guys ever need a candle, Daily Burn Candle Studio, check them out. So
Thank you so much, guys. Pleasure being here.
awesome.